Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Tom Sherry. Whitney's off tonight.
But we don't know enough yet about the pandemic's course and trajectory to be able to do that. So this remains an extremely alarming situation.
COVID restrictions that were set to expire in Washington on Monday will now stay in place through the holidays and into the new year. Governor Jay Inslee today announced that he's extending his shutdown on bars, restaurants, and some other small businesses through January 11th. To break down exactly what that means, we go now live to our political reporter, Casey Decker.
Well, Tom, the basic gist, everything you can't do right now, you still won't be able to do for at least another month. As a refresher, here's a partial list of some of those restrictions. Indoor dining is banned. Pretty much all indoor venues are shut down, like gyms, bowling alleys, and movie theaters. Retail stores and places like barber shops and salons, those are limited to 25% capacity. Religious services also have to stay at 25% with a maximum of 200 people. And the biggie, any sort of indoor social gathering anywhere is banned unless all participants take specific quarantine protocols. And these restrictions, though, actually not quite as tough as the ones back in March, despite case numbers now being significantly higher.
What we did last spring was dramatically more disruptive to our economy and individuals' lives than we're doing right now. We're trying to avoid much more devastating economic pain that we suffered in the spring. Difficult as these restrictions are, they're in a much more limited number of parts of our economy than we did last spring. So we're trying to avoid that devastating and numbers of unemployment and the devastation that causes, while simultaneously being able to restrain the growth of this enough so that our hospitals are not overwhelmed. That's the goal.
Inslee said today it is difficult to tell just how well these rules have worked so far. Statewide data from this past week suggests case numbers might be starting to level off. You can kind of see the projection dotted line on that graph there. But health experts still expect a surge from the Thanksgiving holiday to take effect here. So the governor says he'll reevaluate whether to extend or to end this proclamation as we get closer to that January 11th date. And this time Inslee says the metric he's most concerned about is actually hospitalizations, not just case numbers. A startling 80% of ICU beds are currently full in Washington, and the threat of overwhelming hospitals will need to diminish before any restrictions can start to be lifted. Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
All right, Casey, thank you very much. And earlier today, I got the chance to speak with Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward about the extension of these restrictions. She says it's now time for the government to step in with more financial aid.
We've seen many restrictions extended in the past several months. We were actually bracing for a possible shutdown similar to what we saw in March. Thankful that hasn't happened. But with this extension of just about another month where businesses can't open fully or even at 50%, many of the restaurants don't have outdoor space, don't really also have a business model for takeout. It's frustrating for them. And I think if the government is going to continue to extend these restrictions, they need to be able to come to the table financially to help these businesses. We heard the state is making $50 million more dollars available, but we need more.
Spokane City Council President Brian Beggs commented on the extension of the restrictions today, saying in part, "I was gratified to hear that the state of Washington will extend pandemic unemployment benefits that are set to expire on December 26th and increase the direct financial support of COVID-impacted businesses by $50 million this month. While this will help, it isn't nearly enough to remedy the suffering," and he says that the federal government is in the best financial and legal position to provide robust financial aid to the community. Governor Inslee also provided more insight on Washington's plans to distribute Pfizer's COVID vaccine. Now, the state expects to start receiving doses of the vaccine by the end of the month.
But the vaccine will be distributed to some people before others. So our very own Ian Smay joins us live in the newsroom tonight with more on today's vaccine announcements. Ian?
That's right. Governor Jay Inslee and State Secretary of Health John Weisman made announcements regarding how the state will roll out its coronavirus vaccine efforts today. The state will be using the vaccine developed by Pfizer, which the Food and Drug Administration has said is strongly protective against COVID-19. Today, we learned more about who will be first in line to get the vaccine. This morning, Secretary of Health John Weisman announced that the state will be getting hundreds of thousands of doses of the Pfizer vaccine by the end of the month. Some of those doses will be here even earlier.
For December 15th, we should be getting about 62,400 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. And during the month of December, total 219,000 of that vaccine.
While that may sound like a lot, it's important to remember that there are more than 7.5 million people in the state of Washington. That means that some people will get their doses before others. Weisman spelled out who's first in line.
Right now, we're enrolling providers, and we are assuring that we'll be able to have a vaccine across the state. The first group who will be vaccinated are the high-risk healthcare workers. And then also during the month of December, we'll also be vaccinating folks in long-term care settings.
But even with the vaccine arriving this month, it's going to take some time for people to get their shots. Weisman noted that there are more than 300,000 healthcare workers in the state who are in the high-risk category. This group includes more than just doctors. Other healthcare workers, such as nurses and support staff, also fall into this group. Weisman says that it will take several weeks to get through all high-risk healthcare workers, with the push to vaccinate this group projected to last into January. He also says there will likely be weekly shipments of the vaccine after December, but how many doses will come in those shipments is unknown. Weisman also spoke about the vaccine being developed by Moderna. It will be reviewed by a state committee next week, and if approved, Weisman says the state could receive about 182,000 doses of that vaccine in the near future. For more information on Washington State's COVID-19 vaccination plan, text vaccine to 509-448-2000. In the newsroom, Ian Smay, KREM 2 News.
Ian, thank you very much. Well, today the Spokane Regional Health District reporting 692 new COVID cases. There are 5 new deaths, bringing the total number to 293 deaths since the pandemic began. And there are 102 Spokane County residents in the hospital now.
And across the state line in northern Idaho, the Panhandle Health District is reporting 415 new coronavirus cases today. There are currently 57 people in the hospital, and they are reporting 1 new death today. And in total, there have been 129 deaths. We are continuing to track a number of COVID outbreaks at our local prisons and jails. Here are the new totals. Tonight, there are 130 new cases at Airway Heights Correction Center. There have been 667 active cases reported there since November 30th. A new outbreak has just been reported at the Okanagan County Jail. 11 inmates there have tested positive for the virus. At Geiger Corrections, 52 inmates have tested positive for the virus, and another 10 inmates at Spokane County Jail are also being quarantined for testing positive. The Washington Hospitality Association believes that extending restrictions and shutdowns on restaurants and other small businesses will mean thousands more people will suffer and many more businesses will permanently close.
KREM 2's Amanda Rowley shares reaction from our local restaurants and how many businesses have already closed due to the pandemic.
Restaurants, hotels, and local businesses will have to navigate another 3 weeks under the current COVID-19 restrictions in Washington state. That's another 3 weeks of no indoor dining, which for many businesses could mean closing their doors for good.
We are completely in over our head. We are swamped. We don't know how we're going to fix it. We don't know when we're going to fix it. We're just kind of living each day and hoping it works out. Governor Inslee says there is scientific certainty that closing indoor dining is having a positive impact on cases.
Beyond a reasonable doubt that infections take place in restaurants because it's the place where people speak to each other in close proximity for a prolonged period of time.
The Washington Hospitality Association disagrees.
We know the restaurants are safe. Restaurants have proven safe. When you track cases back to where they came from, they're not coming from restaurants. And when they follow the rules, we're almost finding no cases coming back to restaurants.
CEO and President Anthony Anton says he is beyond frustrated and angry about the extension. Data collected by the association shows in the first 6 months of the pandemic, 3,000 Washington restaurants permanently closed. That's about 25% across the state.
This has come at the worst time, which is supposed to be our most joyous time of the year.
According to the association's data, 121 restaurants in Spokane County closed permanently in the first 6 months of the pandemic. The city of Spokane accounted for 82 of those closures.
Just come in every day and unlock the door and do your prep and expect the best.
Anton believes we could see another 3,000 permanently close if restrictions remain and financial relief doesn't come.
It would definitely make us a little bit happier to be able to open and see at least a few people.
Hotels are just as at risk of closure as restaurants. Anton says financial data suggests nearly half of all Washington hotels could face foreclosure.
It's going to be a long haul in the recovery as we head into 2021. It's going to be another rough year, I think, for everyone involved. It's going to take a long time to recover.
But businesses like Chicken and More remain optimistic.
I mean, it's going to drop off a little bit, but people still got to eat. They got where you going to go if you want something to eat.
Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Support your local business if you are able to. They'll certainly appreciate that. All right, let's talk weather now. Rain is returning to the forecast, but with the cold temperatures, we want to know, could that bring snow? And Tom, quickly though, it was actually kind of warm today.
It was. I thought we'd get a high of 40. I saw temperatures soar well into the 40s today. So it was very, very mild. We will see the colder air move in over the weekend. That's when we'll talk about some snow showers. 41 degrees right now, but during our 4 o'clock broadcast, we were at 46 degrees. The winds are calm, as you can see. And that's a live shot, by the way, of downtown Spokane. Didn't they do a great job in Riverfront Park decorating for the holidays? There's the rain that Mark was referring to, and it's all rain, not snow. It's coming in from the southwest, so it's bringing in much warmer air. Here's a look at what you can expect for your day planner forecast. Increasing clouds this evening. Right around 3:30 in the morning, we could get some rain or even a little freezing rain with a low of 33, but it won't be cold very long because I'm looking for a daytime high of 40, and I think most of our precipitation will be in the overnight hours and then early tomorrow morning. Then it will move over into Idaho, where it's a better chance of it falling in the form of snow. For the weekend, the cooler weather I talked about. Snow developing Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then by Sunday midday it'll change over to rain. We'll look for a high of 36 on Saturday and 38 on Sunday. I'll check the rest of your 7-day outlook coming up in a few minutes. Mark?
Talk to you then, Tom. Thank you very much. Well, it's being called V-Day in the United Kingdom.
It's the beginning of the end of this pandemic.
Tonight, we'll introduce you to the very first person who received Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine, and we'll share how much longer Americans will have to wait for authorization. Stay with us. We're back after this.